Oh, yeah, we're back to start the matchups. Jeff and Jesse doing testosterone. We thank you for joining us. Fantastic purple segment already in the books, but we've got a bunch of fantasy football plays to talk to you about here. And Jeff, the bye-pocalypse is upon us. Yes. The NFL starts its bye weeks by giving a shock to the fantasy owners out there. 6 teams not playing a game in week number 4.
Yeah, 2 extra teams than we're regularly used to during the bye week. So the lineups are going to be a lot more thin this week. It happens one other time throughout the course of the season, so you're going to want to pay special attention to your starting lineup this weekend. You have a good chance to win against your opponent if you have the better lineup, because he might have to go with like Michael Bush, or another guy, who's not producing, like a Chad Johnson or something like that.
Right, exactly. So this is what we're here to help you do, is navigate shark-infested waters in your fantasy league. Bring home a victory. Even though there are a lot of teams out there on bye, there are still plenty of fantasy points to go around. So as we delve into these matchups and as we jump onto the Fat Chat after the show, which we invite you to do as well, testosteronesports.com, we want to help you dominate in your fantasy football league. And by doing so, you will be proud of the squad you've assembled. Testosterone Fantasy Sports, the key to success.
Nice plug, dude.
Thank you. Philadelphia at Chicago in the first matchup we'll talk about of the Week 4 show. The Eagles are a team that has looked very formidable on the defensive side of the ball. They're number 1 in the league against the rush, and they face a pretty tough Chicago team that did lose at home last week, Jeff, to Tampa Bay, but they have a rookie running back that's been rolling so far, Matt Forte. It's kind of the immovable object against the irresistible force. How do you think this one's going to go down?
Well, it's been interesting for me to see Donovan McNabb hasn't been participating in practice here this week. Neither has Brian Westbrook. He got the Grizzly ankle injury last weekend and didn't participate, so all you Westbrook fans got burned. It's too bad that happened because he's such a great player. You like to see him on the field. But I do think that at least McNabb will be under center. I wouldn't be surprised if Westbrook plays, albeit sparingly. But the Eagles are going to do their thing, play stout defense. They mix in the great blitz, and then McNabb is going to move the chains through the air primarily. And I think that the Eagles will definitely win this ballgame.
Yeah, I think the Eagles are the better team here, clearly. Definitely. I mean, they played a great game plan last week, shutting down the Steelers on offense. So if they could hold Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers in check, I think they're going to have a much easier time giving Kyle Orton some looks to confuse him. I don't like Matt Forte in this matchup. I think fantasy owners that have been relying on him to this point have been really happy with his play and very pleasantly surprised. But to start him in this game, I'd rather start Brian Westbrook in this game, to be honest with you, even though he may not play full-time or even part of the time. I really think that Philly goes down to Chicago and wins this contest. And if Westbrook is out, I think you can start Buckhalter.
Yo, most definitely. The Eagles are a pride-filled team, and we saw that last week against the Steelers. That game was a battle for Pennsylvania, and both of those teams were playing at their highest level, trying to win that game. And that's one reason why so many guys got knocked out of that game, even if it was temporarily, and that's why it was so hard fought. So I think we're going to see more of the same out of the Eagles. They look like a team that's hungry to go to the playoffs and make some noise. They also look to me like a team who's had a lot of questions asked about them. Can they do it? A little bit of a tumultuous offseason around Andy Reid and everything like that. And I think that when they're out on the field, they're at their best. And I expect a best performance out of them again this weekend.
Now, people that tuned into last week's show, they saw us talking about the trends begin. Here in a little while, we're going to have Zach on the set. We're going to talk about more of the trends that are kind of starting to settle in now as we're able to decipher some of the things that are becoming actual trends. Last week, we saw a bold prediction by Yeasty when he was on the show. He said Brandon Lloyd would be startable in last week's game. He finished with 10 catches for over 130 yards and a touchdown. Jeff, is that a trend? Can people play Brandon Lloyd this week?
Well, I don't think they can, because Brandon Lloyd faces against Asante Samuel, and Asante Samuel is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. The defense from Philadelphia is really top-notch. I love their linebacking core. Omar Gaither, their middle linebacker, had 2 sacks in last week's game. They're going to continue to baffle opposition throughout the course of the season with that crazy delayed blitz that Jim Johnson employs. So I really think that the passing game is going to be null and void. And also Devin Hester still injured, so
may not play again.
That's their best player.
Right.
So he's got the most talent on the team. If only he could transfer some of that talent into his hands to catch the ball with. You know what I'm saying? He'd be a great receiver, but for some reason he doesn't make any impact in their receiving game. So I really think that this could be a statement type of game for the Eagles, and I say start no Bears if you can help it.
Two teams that are supposed to have high-powered offenses are the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals, yet the Browns right now rank 32nd in total offense, averaging just $194 per game. And the Bengals, they've been diseased too. They're 30th in total offense. These two teams are going to be squaring off. The history between these squads goes way back to the days of Paul Brown when the Browns were very first formed, and squabbles between the ownership, a bitter division rival. Both of these teams, Jeff, want to desperately avoid going 0-4. Which team will go? Will get their first win of the season, and what do you think this matchup's going to have for fantasy points?
Well, there's a couple different developments here in this game. Romeo Crennel has come out and backed Derek Anderson as the starting quarterback, and that was amidst questions and speculation from the team that they might start Brady Quinn.
Right.
So I really think that the passing game, they're going to try to get that going early here. I really do think that Derek Anderson is going to come out gunning. If he struggles, I expect a short hook. So to me, if Brady Quinn gets in there, then all bets are off.
Right.
We don't know what to expect.
Right.
But we really need to see both Kellen Winslow and Braylon Edwards step up their game in order to help Anderson get over the hump here. And not only that, but these two teams have a history of having insanely high-scoring games. And this one's shaping up to be the same thing because neither team plays defense.
Right.
So I love every single fantasy play here in this game, and I say trot out all your guys. And it's finally nice to see the Bengals offense come to life. We saw Carson Palmer start to hook up with Houshman Zeta last week, and that's the way that they're going to move the ball.
Yeah, Derek Anderson's been diseased so far. 43.5 quarterback rating. I mean, it's not all been his fault, though. The wide receiver play, Braylon Edwards, has looked pretty bad so far.
Yeah.
He's playing like he's got a shoulder problem, but he's really playing like he's got no thumbs because he's just slapping the ball like this. He can't catch the ball. He's not playing a cerebral game. He's getting called for offsides penalties and whatnot. Just their offense, I was a little worried about a regression here. I didn't think it would be quite this bad, but they've got some real questions to answer, and I think that the Bengals are about ready to get rolling. Chad Ochocinco, if you go that way, or Chad Johnson if you don't, came out in the media this week, and he basically predicted that this game would be the game when he finally shows up. He knows he's had a slow start, and we saw last week TJ Hoosh kind of get something going with Carson Palmer, so it makes me think that maybe the Bengals at home might be able to get their first win of the season here, Jeff. I like the Bengals plays in this game better.
You're crazy, man. You're crazy, man. The Browns win.
All right.
Browns win.
Well, that's what you said last week, so we'll tell everybody at home to review the tape. Denver at Kansas City. Now, the Broncos have been a team that both of us have been somewhat surprised by, Jeff, so far, averaging 432 yards a game in offense. Their defense, a little bit diseased, giving up quite a few yards, but they play a Kansas City team that's honestly pretty overmatched here.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting is that the Broncos are the worst team in the league at stopping the pass.
Yep.
And now here Kansas City is going to go ahead and start Damon Heward. So I really, really like both Tony Gonzalez and Dwayne Bowe in this matchup. I think go ahead and start those guys. I'm not quite sure why Denver is so crappy against the pass because they have Champ Bailey and they have Dre Bly. I mean, but
they don't give a crap. That's why. They don't give a crap. They're winning games and they're giving up a ton of yardage. So it seems to me like the defense just doesn't play with a lot of heart.
Yeah.
They got talent, no heart.
And everything's been Jay Cutler, and I do definitely like him again. There's going to be a lot of fantasy plays here in this game. It's a divisional game, so both teams will be up big for it. But because of how the Broncos seem to be lax on the passing game, I do like Kansas City's passing game here,
I agree.
Especially during the bipocalypse. Go ahead and plug Dwayne Bowe into your lineup. Roll with Gonzalez. And then Larry Johnson, he's a little bit less of a good play here just because he's been struggling. And now he's starting, there's murmurs coming out of Kansas City about him being unhappy and starting to show that to his teammates. So
rumors about Tony Gonzalez now, too, saying he might want out.
Well, we knew that when we went and saw them at training camp. I mean, you could, one sentence out of Tony Gonzalez and you knew how unhappy he was.
Yeah, I like Dwayne Bowe in this matchup, too. He had 105 yards. When they hosted the Broncos last year, Damon Heward under quarterback, so I like Bowe.
And Jesse, don't you think that Brandon Marshall could be the best receiver of the weekend here?
There's a very good chance. I mean, he's been targeted a lot in his first game of the season, 18 pass receptions. He's caught a touchdown every game that he's played so far. So, yeah, he's a must start.
And with Eddie Royal and Tony Scheffler, they might not scare a lot of people, but they're really good, surprisingly good, and Cutler knows how to put the ball in the money. So they're going to move the ball through the air. And Selvin Young and Andre Hall, not that great. Michael Pittman could get a couple different goal line looks, though.
The St. Louis Rams absolutely blow, but they're still an NFL team, so we got to talk about them. Here they welcome the Bills to town. Buffalo at St. Louis, Jeff. St. Louis giving up 38 points a game. They're absolutely brutal on defense.
Yeah.
Their offense sucks. They're going with Trent Green.
I know, it's going to be crazy. This is going to be the raping of the week, in my opinion.
God.
The Bills are one of the hottest teams in the league. Marshawn Lynch, a must-play.
For
Lee Evans
sure.
is got 2 touchdown potential in this game. I really like what Trent Edwards brings to the table for the Bills. He's a non-flashy, move the ball kind of field general who's going to manage the game for you and not kill you, but he's doing a great job so far. And one development for the Bills is that Roscoe Parrish has been injured. So those of you who have James Hardy on your lineup, you've been waiting to see what he might do. He's been off again, on again, off again so far. Well, I think he's going to start getting more ingratiated into this offense just for a lack of another target. So go ahead and plug Hardy in and see how he does this weekend against one of the worst defenses in the league, led by our good friend Corey Chavis.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, you basically have to start all your Buffalo players.
Definitely.
And this is how bad it's gotten
Even
for the
Robert
Rams.
Royal.
This is how bad it's gotten for the Rams. I had a guy in one of my leagues this week, my buddy Taco, who I play with in the Muff League. We love the Muff. But Taco sends me an offer, a trade offer. He offers me straight up Steven Jackson for Marshawn Lynch, and I click delete just as fast as I could. I own Lynch, and I'm not giving up Lynch for Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, you want to find guys on your team who play for teams that are, hot and trying to get into the playoffs. The Bills haven't been in the playoffs or haven't had anything positive since the Jim Kelly era.
Right.
And so now they finally have something going, and the fans are loving it, and the team is excited, and they're playing like it. They really have something cooking up there in Buffalo, and I really think that they roll against one of the worst teams in the NFL. We saw the Rams. They took Jake Long at number 2 last season. I wonder who they'll take at number 2 this year.
They might have to trade down to be at number 2.
Yeah, perhaps.
Well, we're going to take a brief break. Zach Miller is in the house. Not the Zach Miller who plays for the Raiders, but our good buddy Zach Miller. We've got more matchups to break down going forward in the show. We thank you for tuning in. Don't go anywhere. TFS being back right after this break.
Yeah.